Hello, good afternoon. This is Kendra K. Woods, and I am going live with the first debut of Tuesday Talks with Kendra. All right, so I'm going to just hang out just for a second and let people get on. I have an awesome topic to share with you today. I've got my notes here, I've got my water, and I'm ready to go. All right, so I'm just going to give everyone a few seconds to get on and watch. So I hope everyone had a really good Labor Day. My Labor Day was good. I literally rested all weekend long. I didn't do anything. In church on Sunday, my pastor was talking about rest and how we don't always rest. We think we're resting, but we don't always rest because our mind is going crazy. And so I really took heed to what he was saying, and I just chose to rest. So yeah. All right. So I am going to go ahead and get started. And again, say welcome to Tuesday Talks with Kendra. And so this month, we're going to be talking about wisdom. All right. And I'm doing these weekly talks and or trainings, if you will, to provide you with information that will empower you to think different. All right. To elevate your mindset and to also help you change your mind so you can change your life. And I am a firm believer that in order for us to get to that place where we actually change our life and make that change, we have to first change our mindset, right? And I can go into that all day, but I won't. All right, so each month on Tuesday Talks with Kendra, what will happen is there'll be a different theme for every month, okay? This month is wisdom, next month it'll be something else, and so on and so on. And so what I want to tell you is I encourage your participation. I don't want this to be just me simply talking at you. I really want it to be a discussion. I want you to ask questions, post your ahas, post whatever it is that I say that resonates with you, right? And I know Facebook Live will lag a little bit, so I don't see comments in real time like I would like to. But even after the broadcast is over, I will be going back, looking at the comments and answering questions and just staying engaged. Because one thing I know for sure is we can't grow on our own. We can't do it by ourselves. If that were the case, then we wouldn't all be here together, right? We'd be here by ourselves doing our thing. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, today we're going to discuss wisdom. And today I'm going to share with you the 3 keys of wisdom, right? 3 keys of wisdom as they relate to how you speak and how you listen, all right? So there's wisdom that we can talk about in all areas of our life. But I think how we listen to others and how we speak is so very important, right? All right. So here's the thing that I know for sure. If we lack the wisdom that we need in how we listen to others, we can tend to find ourselves in confrontational situations, right? And when we don't use wisdom in how we speak, then what we can tend to do is hurt ourselves and hurt others. So when we don't use wisdom in listening, we don't really get the full message and we can speak out of context. When we don't use our wisdom in how we speak, then we can end up hurting ourselves, we end up hurting our future, and we create a lot of frustration in our lives, unneeded frustration in our lives, when we don't function from a place of wisdom in how we listen and in how we speak, right? And we've all heard that our words are so very important, and they are. Our words carry energy. Our words can either break a person, build a person up, or break a person down, right? And each day, if we think about our words as building blocks, we're building ourselves up, we're building others up, we're being positive out in the world, and we're building up other people, okay? And we're building up ourselves. That's the way that we all want to live our lives, right? But our words can also work in the opposite effect, and our words can be a wrecking ball to our lives and to the lives of others by simply being negative and by speaking negative and by not practicing positive listening skills. So not listening, and we're going to talk about that for a second, not listening to others also means that you're really not listening to yourself either. And so you can miss the inner cues and those inner nudges that go on within you that say, you're not, you're not listening right. You're not listening to yourself. And we miss those clues. And then what can happen is we can tend to rush to judgment in how we view ourselves and in how we view others. Okay? And so we have to really slow down and just pay attention to what we're thinking, pay attention to what we're feeling, and do the same for others out in the world. Right? And it would, not to say that that's the end all be all of ending your frustration in life, but it would make a huge difference, and it would reduce some of that frustration that we tend to create for ourselves. All right, so today I'll be talking about, again, the keys of wisdom as they apply to how we speak and listen. And I'm very, very confident that if you will jot these down and apply them to your life as you can each and every day, I'm confident that you'll begin to see some huge change take place in your life, all right? You'll see a dramatic difference in your life, and you'll find that your life is a little more enriched and that it's more value when you're able to listen and speak from a place of love and from a place of positivity, because it enriches you and it enriches others. All right. So first things first, we really have to understand what is wisdom. We hear wisdom all day, every day. And I think when we hear the word wisdom, or we hear that, someone is a wise individual, or we say, oh, she is so wise, or he is so wise, we tend to think of a person of high influence, high power, that has this huge platform and that can influence millions and millions of people. And not to say that that isn't true, because part of that is true. But one thing I want to share with you is that you and I have wisdom within us as well. We were created with wisdom within us. We just don't tap in to that wisdom, right? So that is the first thing I want to say. And let's understand what wisdom is. I'm going to read to you the definition of wisdom. So the first one says, the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, the quality of being wise. The next one says, number 2, the soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment, right? And so really when you think about it in a nutshell, wisdom is really using common sense, if you will. And I know some of you will say, well, common sense isn't that common. And I hear you on that, and I get it. But that's where it leads back to us not really using our wisdom and using that place within us that God has given us. So using common sense. And in talking about wisdom, I think that we also find some of us will get confused with wisdom and knowledge being the same thing. But they're not the same thing. Wisdom and knowledge are completely different. So let's dispel that and kind of get that out of the way for a second. And realize that a lot of us tend to think that because we have a lot of knowledge, that we automatically have wisdom, right? And that's not the case. That is not the case, right? So many of us have had the privilege of going to college, right? We've gotten our high school diploma. We go to college and get our bachelor's degree. We go and get our master's degree, and we have accumulated all of this knowledge, and we think, well, we're just the wisest person in the world. No, that may not be the case, okay? So what I would want to say is when you accumulate that knowledge, you've got to know how to apply it, all right? And that goes back to that common sense. How many of you have witnessed or have this type of person in your family that is super, super duper smart, right? They are what we call book smart. They got it together. They know what they could probably read any passage out of one of the books that they've studied in school, and they are a whiz when it comes to school. But because when they get into the real world, in the real life, they don't know how to apply it. And you think, okay, this person has all the book knowledge in the world, but doesn't have any common sense. Come on, we've all said it, all right? And so that's because sometimes we don't know how to apply that knowledge to our lives. And so knowledge is simply about facts and ideas that we acquire through study, research, investigation, observation, and our very own experience. Okay? Now, wisdom, on the other hand, is the ability to discern and judge with aspects of knowledge, all right, that are true, right, lasting, and applicable to your life. So, wisdom is applied knowledge. Okay? And so you've got to have knowledge before you can have wisdom. All right? You just don't wake up one day and boom, you're the wisest person. You have to seek and go after the knowledge that will enable you to be a wise individual. All right? So do we have that? There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is going out and accumulating the facts, the ideas, the investigating and the observation. It's your life experience. It's all of that knowledge. It's knowledge, okay? Now, wisdom is taking all that knowledge and actually applying it to areas of your life and maybe even areas of your work, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into the 3 keys of wisdom that I want to share with you today. I'm going to take some water here. Excuse me. All right. So the first key is discipline in your language. Okay. Love the hearts. Love the likes. Thank you. All right. So discipline in your language is the first key of wisdom. So discipline in your language is how we can say something that can be either beneficial or it can be harmful. So when we're speaking and how we speak in our daily life, it can either be harmful or it can be beneficial, okay? And so here's something really interesting that I want you to think about. And maybe you've heard this before, but our words have energy. Our words have energy. So whatever you're speaking out of your mouth, you're either speaking out of the 2 main pillars of energy. And those 2 pillars are love and fear. Okay? Those are the 2 main pillars, and then there's other sub-pillars that are underneath each of the labels love and fear, right? And so when we speak our words, the corresponding energy is associated and pushes that word out. Okay? So think of that person who's uncontrolled in their language. Okay, this would really be someone without knowledge and understanding. They're just uncontrolled. And I've heard people say, okay, you know what? He or she just has incontinence of the mouth. They just keep talking, keep talking, keep talking. And I think we have all experienced that at some point in our life. And because the past, 10 years or so of my life have been in corporate America, I'll always tend to use those examples. And I think you'll be able to relate to this. You have that coworker that no matter what just has to say something, right? Just has to say something. They're uncontrolled in their language. And you think, okay, didn't so-and-so just say that already? Aren't you just saying the same thing over and over and over again, right? Uncontrolled. And this goes hand in hand with the Bible scripture that is very popular. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. And that is so true. That's not just an airy, frou-frou, scripture. Really think about that. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. So what I would ask you to do is make it a habit to speak positively about yourself and others. Okay? And what is a habit? A habit is something that you do each and every day without even thinking about it. All right? You don't even think about it. So, when you get up in the morning and you brush your teeth, you're not literally thinking about each and every step. You're not saying, okay, let me grab my toothbrush. Let me take the lid off my toothbrush. Let me put the toothpaste on the toothbrush. Let me put it in water. Now let me put it in my mouth. You're not going through all those steps. That's an unconscious habit for you. So speaking positively about yourself and about others has to become a habit to where it's unconscious. You don't even think about it. All right. So think about those times when you've been going to work or you've been dropping the kids off at school and you get to your destination and you think, oh my gosh, I'm here. I don't remember passing the McDonald's. I don't remember passing, the school zone that I always drive through, but I'm here. Okay? I know you've had those moments. I've had those moments. And that's because driving your car is something that you do unconsciously. You don't have to put much thought into it. So you have to do this over and over and over and over again. Speak positively about yourself and others. The more you do it, the more it becomes something you don't have to think about. You just do it. All right. So the second thing that I would say to you about having discipline in your language is to avoid gossip. Just don't do it. And I'm not saying that I am just perfect and I've never gossiped, because believe me, I've done some gossiping, but I've learned the consequences that come with gossip. It's not good, right? So if you're in a place where you're around people who are gossiping, talking about someone else and putting that person down, that's a form of negativity. And you wouldn't want that done to you. So just simply remove yourself from the situation. You don't have to make a big scene about it and say, oh, I can't believe that you're talking like this. You just simply have to say, just excuse me for a moment. I need to go take care of some business, or I need to go do X, Y, Z. I need to go make a phone call, whatever. But remove yourself from that situation. And each time you do that, again, that creates a habit, and it creates a habit. All right. I also want to say that, yes, we have to be disciplined in our language and how we speak to others, but also understand that we also need to be disciplined in how we receive the language of other people. So what I want to say to you is to refuse to accept the negative labels about yourself that others give you. Because other people give you labels. I've had plenty of labels given to me. And so maybe you've been given that label of, you're stupid, or you're never going to amount to anything, or no one will want you, right? And maybe at some point in our lives, some of us have heard a variation of those three things I just mentioned. And I'll tell you a story about really being conscious of other people's language. And it was probably about 6 years ago. I moved to Pensacola, Florida, and I found my first job. I was so excited. It was at a great CPA firm, and I loved it. I loved what I did, and I was a good employee, came to work every day. My boss told me I needed to get certified, and what I was doing, I got certified, right? During that time, I was also practicing, or actually in school, to get my master's degree in healthcare. So of course, once I earned my master's degree, I started looking forward in my future and thinking, well, I want to be in the field in which I've gotten my degree, right? So I found a wonderful job, and I went to my boss and I said to her, okay, here's my notice. And I think I gave like a 3 or 4 week notice, right? So gave my notice to my boss. She accepted it, and then I think it was like the next day, she called me in her office and then called in everyone on our team. We were a small team of like, I don't know, 5 or 6 people maybe. And she called me in her office and she made the announcement. She said, Kendra is going to try to go into the industry of healthcare, right? And to the unconscious person, you may not have caught the little, negativity that was lying underneath the surface. But when I heard her say, Kendra is going to try to go into healthcare, I thought, okay, wait a minute, no. I'm not going to try to do anything. Because when you try to do something, you try it and you typically you're not successful at it, right? And so I told myself at that point that I was not going to take that label, if you will, that she was wanting to give me of trying to go into healthcare. So when you become conscious of the language of other people and how they speak into your life, you can then use the wisdom to say, I'm not accepting it. I'm not accepting it. So pay attention to how people are speaking into your life. And I'm not saying you have to be disrespectful or be confrontational about it. You can just simply say, I don't choose to accept that. You can simply end the conversation and have a moment with yourself and say, I refuse that. Okay? So by using this wisdom, and how we receive from others allows us to dictate our lives instead of allowing the labels that people give to us to dictate our lives, right? And one thing that I will suggest is keeping a really small journal. It doesn't have to be like a big, hardback journal. It can just be a little small notebook from the dollar store that you keep in your purse and carry it with you day in and day out and write down each time that you say something negative or each time someone says something negative to you, and then determine how you're going to turn that around into a positive, right? And so here's the thing. If you want to have discipline in this, you have to actually put the work into doing it. If you want to discipline your language and not allow others to dictate your life, you have to put work into it. When Olympic athletes are training for track and field or for gymnastics, they are keeping a record, of how fast they ran that sprint or how well they did their bar routine. And they're keeping track of that so they can go back and look at it and say, okay, I need to make some adjustments here and there. And that's what you have to do with your life. All right? That's what you have to do with your life. I wish I could see comments. I don't know if y'all are commenting or not, but I cannot see comments right now. So if you are commenting, I'm not ignoring you. All right, so let's talk about the second key of wisdom. Number 2, do not rush to judgment is the second key of wisdom. Do not rush to judgment. And you may have heard this saying before, a fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing her opinion. Okay, this goes back to that person that just continually always wants to give you their opinion and give you the unsolicited advice that you did not ask for, right? And here's a question that, it's going to take some courage to maybe face. Do you always have to give your opinion when others are talking, right? That's a question that I have to ask myself. And I ask that you ask yourself, do I have to always give my opinion? Am I that person? And here's what I'm going to tell you, okay? Working on yourself and working on building up your wisdom in yourself, it's not always going to be pretty. You're going to have to be brave and courageous in facing yourself, right? And have there been times when I feel like that I have to give my opinion all the time? Yes. And I recognize it. And I go back and say, Kendra, you just overtook that conversation because you felt like that you had to give your opinion. Okay? You don't have to always give your opinion. So if you've read Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's a great book to read if you haven't read it. This is actually something he talks about in the book in habit number 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Okay, seek first to understand, then seek to be understood. And I think we tend to do this backwards sometimes. We want to seek to be understood, and then we'll say, okay, now I'll seek to try to understand you. No, do it the other way. So that requires you to be quiet and to try to understand what the person is trying to say to you or what it is you're trying to say to yourself. And then you can understand. And so I'll ask myself sometimes, why do we do this? Why do we always want to seek to be understood first before we really truly understand? And I think that most of the time, a lot of us listen with the intent on replying, not really understanding. So take note of that. While other people are talking to you, if your girlfriend comes to talk to you and she says, hey, I need to talk, and you say, sure, but the whole time you're sitting there thinking about what you're going to say and how you're going to reply, right? And here's what that could look like. So let's say your girlfriend calls you and she says, hey girl, I need to talk. I got some things going on, need to get them off my chest, right? And you say, sure, girl, come on over after, you get off work, or hey, let's go have lunch, or whatever, okay? And you find yourself listening, but you're listening and you start thinking to yourself, okay, what am I going to say? How am I going to address this to her? How am I going to respond? What is she hoping that I say? We start playing this script in our head that says, what am I going to say to this person, right? So what we end up doing is we begin to filter what we are hearing through our life experiences, right? Which are really our frame of reference, all right? Then we take that and we put it up against the autobiography of our life, right? And we determine if it measures up or if it doesn't measure up, okay? And then once we do that, then we want to come back and say, okay, all right, here's what I think you should do. And we prematurely make a judgment on what our girlfriend is saying to us, right? Or even if it's our husband, whoever it is. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. When someone comes to you and says, hey, I need to talk, I need someone to listen to me, whatever that case may be, what we tend to do is we start thinking about the questions we're going to ask. We start thinking about what this person is saying and how that measures up to our life experiences, right? Then we take that and then we say, okay, how does that play up against the autobiography of my life? And then we want to say, you know what? I got it. This is what you need to do. And we become premature in our judgments. And what I want to say is sometimes when people are talking to you, they're not giving you the deep down nitty gritty of what is really going on. They're giving you that surface stuff, right? So for example, if your girlfriend comes to you and she says, hey, I'm thinking about starting this business. I know I need to start this business. It's what I need to do, but I'm feeling a little, scared to put myself out there. What if this thing blows up? What will people think? We start worrying, and she's worried about that, right? And we think, oh, she's just scared. She's just afraid. She doesn't, she's scared to get out there. No, it could be something much deeper than that. And if we will allow ourselves to continue to listen and use that wisdom, what we may begin to realize is that she's not scared at all. What it really could boil down to is that she doesn't feel like she deserves to have this business that she dreams of, right? Or it could be that she doesn't feel like that she's enough to provide the service that she wants to provide. Or maybe when she says, what if it blows up? And she says it kind of, jokingly, we come back and say, oh girl, no, this is really going to be a success. You've got this. But what she really could be saying is, what if this does blow up and I'm not able to perform at the level I need to perform at? So she may be scared of performance. And so we tend to prejudge and give our opinions and express our, thoughts prematurely without allowing the person to truly finish what they're saying. And we don't stop and listen. And we make judgments, right? So how do we listen without judgment? Let's talk about that. So come into the conversation, number one, with an open mind. Someone comes to you and they said they want to talk to you about something that is important to them. Come into the situation with an open mind, okay? Leave your ego at the door and enter into the conversation with a blank slate. Your ego is all consumed with you, and the conversation's not about you. It's about the other person. So leave your ego at the door, all right? And come into the conversation ready to be present and ready to fully understand what the person or individual is saying to you, okay? And one thing that I like to do, and I know this may seem a little quirky, is, if someone's speaking to you and they're having a genuine conversation with you about something that's on their heart, take notes about what they're saying. Take notes about those things that pop out to you and resonate with you. And I say that because those are the things that we will tend to just blurt out and interrupt that person. But if you write them down, then what happens is you can then address them after that person has stopped speaking, okay? You can then be an active listener and say, okay, I heard what you're saying. So now let me tell you some things that came up for me as you were talking. Let's talk about them a little bit deeper, okay? Go into the surface of things and really connect with the person who's speaking with you. All right, so moving on to the third key of wisdom in regards to how we speak and listen. Avoid the temptation to always have something to say. Avoid the temptation to always have something to say. And in this particular key, yes, it is similar to the second key of wisdom of not rushing to judgment. But what I want to speak to in this one, in avoiding the temptation to always have something to say, is I want to talk about this in the context of when you're having a confrontational conversation, or if you're having an argument, right? That's what I want to frame this in. And I want you to understand that there's absolutely nothing wrong with keeping your mouth shut. It can be one of the wisest things that you ever do. It really can be. When we're in a confrontational conversation, or if we're having an argument with our husband or sister or brother or whoever, what's happening? Our egos are in full force. How dare you speak to me like that, right? Or how dare this person come at me like that? Our emotions are running high, and our inhibitions go all out the window. We, at this point, don't even care what we're saying, all right? So remember earlier, I talked about the two pillars of energy, love and fear, right? Love and fear are the two pillars. And so when you're having a confrontational conversation, or you're in an argument, you're operating out of that pillar of fear. So everything is negative, right? You are viewing the conversation from a lens of negativity. Our mindset immediately turns to all things negative, and our energy goes negative. So where energy goes, the mind goes, and the heart goes, right? And so then we start going down this rabbit hole of negativity. And this person can say something to us from the bottom of their heart, and they could simply be saying, you know what, sis, I don't feel like that you really care about me because you don't call me that much. Or it could be your husband saying, you know, honey, I just feel like you're so busy with your business and with work that you don't have time for me. Whatever the case may be, when we're in that state, we are immediately thinking, how dare you? Don't you realize that, I'm trying to build something over here? Or don't you realize that, that I do love you, but I can't always be there at your beck and call? We tend to exaggerate things, right? And we go down this rabbit hole, and we end up saying things that are not healthy for us or for the person that we're speaking to. Okay? And we can really find it hard to use wisdom in our life when we're angry. Right? So here's a few things I want you to keep in mind when you feel like you just have to say something and it's just eating you up. Don't always try to have the last word. Okay? Now that is me all day, because I know me. If I'm in a confrontation with somebody, I've got to get my point across, and I'm going to have the last word, and you're going to hear what I have to say, right? And so, but I've learned that if I just use wisdom, it's okay. I can let that person get out what they need to say, and I can still be heard as well. You can still be heard as well. A conversation is about two people, or three people, or four people having, talking, back and forth. It's not all about you. It's not all about me. All right. Use wisdom in the time when you feel like you can't resist that temptation to say something. Stop yourself for a second and ask yourself, is this comment or this statement that I'm about to say about the other person, or is it really about me? Right? Is it about me, or is it about the other person? And that is your answer right there. If your comment that you're about to make is about that other person and how ungrateful you feel that they are, and how mad they make you, is it really about them, or is it about something in you that's being triggered? All right? And you don't get that wisdom unless you really pay attention to yourself, and unless you do the work that's necessary to understand what your triggers are, and to understand what it is that really flips that switch for you, right? And also know that it's okay if you don't have anything to say at all, right? So, if your friend comes to you, for instance, and she's grieving a loss, or she's just disappointed and frustrated, it's okay to not have anything to say. And because sometimes we just need someone to listen. And that's all we want. It's just to have someone to listen to. And that's the reason why we can call a complete stranger, okay, and spill our life story, right? Because that person's listening. That person's been trained to just listen. And that's what we want, is someone just to listen to what we have to say, to understand what we're saying, and then seek to be understood by helping us get to that next level, right? That's what we want. All right, so those are the 3 keys of wisdom today. The first key is discipline in your language. The second key is do not rush to judgment. And the third key is avoiding the temptation to always have something to say. All right. So I have more that I want to share, but this actually ran a little bit longer than I thought it would, but I'll definitely have more to share next Tuesday. I hope that this was good for you. I hope that it fed you. And I have some other things, some exciting things I want to share with you real quick before I end this live broadcast. If you found that this was useful for you and it kind of helped you see yourself in a different light and elevate yourself, first thing I want you to do is share this message, right? Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. We are here on this earth to share and to be of service, right? So share this message. And it's simple. All you have to do is click share on the video once it posts or while I'm still live, and allow this to be a message that other people can hear as well, all right? So I also want to let you know that in a few weeks, I will be launching my 6-week intensive called An Awakened Mind, 6 weeks to getting out of your head and into action. If you've been following me for any period of time, you know that I'm known as Kendra K. Woods, but I'm also known as the Mind Boss. I'm all about elevating your mind and helping you think differently about yourself and about what you believe in, and challenging your beliefs so that you can elevate your mind to a higher level and get you on the path to finding your happy, or releasing the stress in your life, or getting out of that feeling of being stuck and not knowing where to go next, and helping you gain clarity. So this course, or this live intensive, is going to do just that in the course of 6 weeks. So for the 6 weeks, I'll be working with a select group of women in 6 live training and coaching intensives. And I invite you to join us, okay? And I want you to be on the lookout for it. I'm going to be posting the link very, very soon to the page that will give you more detailed information. But if you like what you've heard here, this is really just on the surface and you've been listening, right? But with this intensive, I'm going to be coaching and training, and you're going to have assignments and homework to do to really get yourself to that next level. Because like I said, you can listen to me all day. You can listen to whomever all day. But unless you do the work and unless you start disciplining yourself, you're not going to see the results that you need, okay? All right, and I also encourage you to join my mailing list. And when you do join my mailing list, you get a beautiful free gift. It's my 7-step morning manifestation guidebook. All right, it's my morning routine I do every single morning. It really helps put your mind in a place of power, to go out and walk with confidence, and to walk knowing who you are and what you're about, okay? And it's a simple 7-step process that I take you through, and I give you the resources that you need to implement this. So I'll put that link in this video as well and give that to you. I'm starting to see some likes and hearts. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. So I'll put that link in the video as well. And again, I'm not seeing any comments right now. I'm sure people are watching this and I can't see your comments, but as soon as this broadcast ends, I see the hearts. Thank you, Valencia. I see you watching. Thank you. So as soon as I do this in the broadcast, I'll look at the comments and I will answer appropriately, and we'll have a really good discussion about this, okay? All right, let's see. I think that is it. I've had fun today. This was awesome. So I will see you again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Time, 12 p.m. Eastern. It's around your lunch break, you guys. So take some time, eat your lunch, pop this video on, and let's have some fun. I'm honored to be able to share this message with you and to serve you. And I want to tell you to go out in the world today and be a mind boss. All right. Until next time, be blessed. Thank you. Bye.